It's July and it's time for another garden update. I'll start over here behind the corn. The popcorn has ears that are fully formed. Not sure how those will do. I just planted those from grocery store popcorn. And the glass gem corn is starting to get pretty tall and tasseling out now. And what I did to keep from pollinate the glass gem corn with the popcorn is I removed all the tassels from the popcorn, so any cross pollination will be from the glass gem corn to the popcorn and not the other way around. And then over here we have a couple of experimental grafts going, and the squash is doing really well. While I'm here, I'll just show you the cucumber on that trellis. Here's a look at the squash coming over this way. While I'm here, I'll just show you the beans are climbing the corn back here. It's kind of hard to see, but they're climbing. And this squash, I think it's going to try to take over the garden before the summer's over. As you can see, that one has kind of climbed over the tomato in the grow bag, and I'm going to have to do something with that. It tries to climb the corn. Instead of going between the corn, it tries to climb it. But this variety is resistant to the squash vine borers, so that's the reason I'm growing it. Then we have onions over here past the corn. And let's just walk down here and take a real quick look at the third type of corn that I have growing. I'm hoping it won't tassel out anytime soon. It's just now starting to grow pretty good. Got beans coming up in front of that. A couple of random hollyhocks over here by the passion flower. It's climbing pretty well. And the eggplants, they're getting really tall, getting quite a few blooms on them, and I'm thinking they're going to do pretty well. And then we have quite a few peppers setting on now, and I'll be posting an update just on the peppers tomorrow, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about them today. We have a random marigold that came up by itself there. Cucumber trellis on the fence is doing really well. The beans are climbing well, producing lots of blooms, but it's pretty hot, so I'm not sure how well they're going to produce, but we'll have to wait and see for that. The marigolds over here are just now starting to open up a flower or two. There's that petunia in the basket. And we have our ornamental peppers. I stuck most of them over here to make it more convenient to water them. I water the containers all by hand. Then we have the petunia in the water cooler. It's doing really well. And there's a look at the zinnias. I'm going to be doing some hand pollinating. That's what those little bags are for, to keep the bees from messing up my work. The reason I'm doing that is because I had a unique zinnia last year. It looks something like this. It's a different color than the candy stripe normally are. It's kind of a pinkish color with darker pink streaks. But I'm trying to promote that trait. Then we have some eggplants in that straw bale. Sweet potatoes down at the bottom. They're starting to grow pretty well. Peppers in that straw bale. They're being watered right at the moment. Let's get over here where we can see the tomatoes. That Aunt Ruby's German green on the end there has really got some nice tomatoes on it. I picked one of those yesterday. I'm a little bit unsure of what it was supposed to look like, so hopefully it was ripe. Got a Cherokee purple getting ripe there, and some Ava purple balls down there. And that one, I picked a real big Belgium Giant yesterday. I forgot to mention the shade cloth. I really think this is probably about a month too late to do any good, but I'm going to just put it up and see what happens anyway. But what I plan to do, I have some blooms up top, and I'm going to wait and see if those sit on. If they don't, I'm going to cut some of those plants back, and then we'll see if we can't get some late tomatoes. Not sure how that's going to work. I've never used shade cloth before, so we'll see how it goes. And here's that petunia in the hollow log. And the small one with the sedum. One of those looks like it's dead or dying. The rest of them look okay. All of those were cuttings. The only one that had any roots at all was this little one right here. Then this is our little pink banana seedling. I transplanted it over here, and it looks like it's getting its second leaf. I think it's going to do okay. Don't know how big it'll get, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And the tomatillos are just going crazy. I probably should have pruned them or something. It's my first time growing them. I didn't expect them to get this big. It seems like I read somewhere where they got 3 to 4 feet, but these are getting close to 5 feet, and they're still growing. Then this is a tomato we have in the straw bales. It's got lots of tomatoes on it. I picked a ripe one the other day and gave that to my sister-in-law, so I haven't got to sample that one yet. Picked lots of eggplants off of this particular straw bale. Then we've got tomatoes back in there. Got another string trellis on the fence, and we've been really eating the cucumbers already. We like to make a tomato, cucumber, basil salad with a little bit of garlic and onion. Anyway, if you want to know the recipe for that, I'll just post a link to a video at the end of this video so you can check it out. We really love that salad. And the Velvet Queen sunflowers are getting huge, and that truck has perfect timing. But that one has to be getting close to 10 feet tall now. I've grown these before and they topped out about 6 feet, so don't know if it's different seeds or they like this spot or what. The potatoes in the grow bags still growing. Some of them over here are kind of dying back, but I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll figure that out, but it won't be all that long. We'll have a potato harvest and see what's in there. I know there are some potatoes because some of them were showing when I was doing some watering. I had to add more soil to cover them up. These sweet potatoes are kind of trying to take over this entire end of the garden. They're down on the ground now. You can't see the grow bags anymore, but they're doing really well as far as vegetative growth. I don't know if they're producing tubers, but we'll have to wait a couple months to find that out. And there's the banana tree. It's probably, I don't know, close to a waist high now. It's getting pretty good size. That's if you lifted up one of these leaves. The leaves are getting pretty big. There's my hand. And we got a yellow jacket there on one of the leaves. Then over here I got another tiny little pink banana tree that I transplanted. I stuck a couple in pots and a couple in the ground. The cotton, I grew a type last year called red foliated, and actually this is green, or Florida green, and it's got more red foliation than the red foliated. So if you're just interested in the red foliation, the Florida green has that, plus some unique green cotton instead of being white. Blackberries, still producing blackberries. I've been eating most of those while I just wander around in the garden. They're sure sweet. And the herbs over here are just kind of a jungle with a few weeds mixed in. Got some dill there. Swiss chard. We haven't even eaten any of that yet. I need to try some of that soon. Chives, oregano, sage, horseradish. I'll probably chop and drop that again. I did once. The okra is just now starting to get going. It's got some grasshopper damage on it. Then we have another sunflower. Let me get on the other side so you can see. There's a look at the sunflower. They're really drawing the pollinators. There's, I don't know how many different species of bees come in and get on them, but they have some pretty active days on the sunflowers. And there's some unique color variations in the Velvet Queen. And as I mentioned before, that one there is about 10 feet tall now and just had its first flower open. Back here we have the chocolate pear tomatoes. They're still doing well, still setting on. Lots of tomatoes. I'm liking that one. I hope it tastes good. The Yacon this year is not doing all that great, but I'm not sure why. This is that Mountain Magic tomato. It had time to set a few, and I'm just going to grow it out just to see how well it stands up. It's supposed to be very disease resistant, so we'll see how that works out. And back here we got a row of peppers kind of stuffed behind the tomatoes. We got a albino bullnose that's got peppers on it. Some more zinnias. There's a petunia on the tomato. I've said I'm going to trim that back before, but I haven't done it yet. There's my experimental onion in the pot. The bee balm's still in bloom, and the hummingbird is still loving it. And it looks like we're going to have some goji berries. Got it in a container. I wasn't sure how well that would work, but we do have a few berries already, and it's just covered with blooms on a couple of branches. So we'll get to sample those. I've never tasted one before. It's supposed to be pretty nutritious, so we'll see how that goes. As I mentioned before, I transplanted some of the pink banana tree seedlings from one pot to another pot, and these are getting their second leaves now, so we'll keep track of those as they grow and see how it goes. There's a look at the wash tub. It has 2 petunia plants in it, and they're kind of trailing off the edges now, and some of them are touching the ground. I'm thinking one plant would have been enough, but I've got 2 colors in there. You can see there's some of them are darker than the other ones, but they kind of go together, so it worked out. I kind of walked by this little hops plant and didn't talk about it. It was just climbing on a small tomato cage, so I put this piece of rebar over here, and I kind of boogered it up when I unwound it, so it's trying to start over again. but it can go probably close to 8 feet, and then I'm gonna come up with something else when it reaches that height. But it's doing pretty well if the squash doesn't smother it. Here's a quick look at the morning glories. This Japanese type looks like it's going to be similar to the variegated type. It's not going to be a very good climber, or doesn't really climb much at all, it doesn't look like. So I'll probably have to be tying it up or helping it out to keep it on the trellis. Then I'm using the variegated type down here to, it's got dirt on it from my weed eating. I'm using the variegated type as a ground cover, and it kind of helps control the weeds and other volunteer morning glories in the area. Then I'm going to let some climb on this little trellis here. I might have to get a bigger trellis because it's pretty small. Before I go, I thought I'd show this little sangria pepper. It's an ornamental, but it's covered in blooms and it's starting to get little peppers, so kind of anxious to see what that's going to look like, because it should have an amazing number of little peppers on it at some point. And right next to it we have another ornamental that hasn't started to produce anything yet. I thought I'd give you a quick look at a couple of tomatoes. This is an Aunt Ruby's German Green. I'll be doing a taste test on it soon. It's an interesting type. Looks pretty good size, but nothing compared to the giant Belgium. It's kind of ugly, but I've grown these before and they really taste pretty good to me anyway. It's a pink type tomato, and they grow pretty well without splitting too bad, so that's a big plus. This one's a little green on the top still, but I'm going to let that finish ripening indoors. Had just a tiny bit of split there. I think that might have been caused by some deep watering, but they don't normally split much. I like that. There's a look at them side by side. That's a look at the garden here in the first part of July. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Otherwise, like, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.